All right, so that's from your belly button through your nose to the top of your head. So if that was 90 degrees, let's check to see what your spine feels. That is pretty good. That's 90. 4 degrees. So the average torpor is 5. Okay, so that's really good. Your hips are pretty good. You're a little bit more to the right than to the left. That's really good. Spacing's good. Aim's good. Ball position's good. I'm not going to ever change your grip. I've always thought it was pretty good, as long as you don't get weak, especially with this hand. All right, let's see what the spine does here. That's what I see every time.
Okay.
So it goes up and back. So now your spine, here's your belly button, here's your head.
Yeah.
So you got to time all this spacing now,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you're going to keep going back. And you start tilting back to the target, which is actually correct. You're trying to find, you're seeking your other position. So your spine angle right now, because the lower part of your spine moved over, which is correct, and your upper part of your spine, see where it is now? It's actually where it started, but it's higher. But it's close to the same position. So your lower spine, you didn't move lateral down here. You moved lateral over here. Then you move lateral back. But now you're going to go forward. So now you're too far forward with your spine.
Right.
I like this part right here. And I think the culprit is all in your spine angle.
Yeah. Start do that one again. Start that over.
Okay.
Yeah. Rock.
I don't mind the rock in the hip position. I don't like the rock in the spine position. I like the loading the trigger to move the club this way with your legs and your hips. And I think that's really good. I watched your lower body leg work going back. I love.
But I was trying to, I'm trying to keep this knee pointed exactly where it stays at setup. And you showed me that on speed, and that seemed to help. But I'd play 13 or 14 holes actually, and then I would have some blow-up holes, usually triggered by the driver. I'm sure I was sliding off that thing, sliding back into that old form. So I was trying to keep the legs from rocking. But anyway.
The path is great. I think you're still a little too handsy with your hands, but I think that that's a byproduct of not getting turning around a fixed axis enough.
No, I think you're exactly
Because
right.
the more you move linear this way, the less rotary speed you have. So you're making up with that rotary action with your hands. Not enough. Because I don't like that flat-footed back foot position right there. Because that tells me your spine's too far forward. Anytime I see the back foot down, the spine's too far forward. If your spine was more back, your lower body would have more action down here and less up here. So just, I'll give you an example. I hate to pull up somebody that is 30 years old. I don't have a lot of. Actually, Nicholas does it great. And it's not fair to most people. So if you watch the backswing and the downswing, if I turn him around forward, you would see that he's actually tilted slightly forward instead of back with the spine. So now his lower body goes forward and his spine stays neutral. So when you get to that same, let's go back to this position. I'm going to show you how good your swing path is. I think your swing path is great. And look how similar that is right there with your arms and your club. It's really good, right? What's different? Well, this up here really controls that. And if your spine stays back, your brain says, I gotta use something to create leverage. Right. He's just using the ground. Right. So he's squaring this arc by turning his core. Right. You're doing it with trying to square it with your hands. And there's your shot dispersion right there.
Right. He's more like this too.
breath.
over the ball. I mean, where this is turning here instead of me up here. Is that? I mean,
But
when
if
I
you-
did- Because when I did that, when I still do that right thing,
Uh-huh.
this turn thing I do.
You're talking about in your backswing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
When
gonna.
I take it back, it looks like I'm still up here like this, and he's down here like this.
Okay, so just my input to that is from a cause, and you're right, but from a cause and effect standpoint, if I do the lines, if I do the lines, this is from the back of your butt bone, behind your hip socket through the top of your head. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. So similar lines right there, would you agree?
Yes.
So what I think he does when he takes the club out, his spine angle is going, what he thinks is down and forward. It's really not. It's staying neutral.
Yeah.
You don't stay in that spine angle. Your first move is up,
Right.
in a way.
Right.
And two things happen. That's what gets the club behind you so early. Is when you move your head and your spine up and back like that. That's what makes the club go inside more. His club is going to stay outside because his arms and his chest are staying in that circle like this.
Right.
So his club is going more up.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what your spine is what's really affected a lot of that. But you've lost your spine angle. Not a lot, but 3 or 4 degrees for sure.
Yeah.
So now you got to go back down, right? And you're doing it with your upper body. He's going to lower his spine through his legs. You don't ever use your legs. Your club's great, but your legs don't ever respond.
Right.
I can't tell you how close that is to being perfect here, but there's nothing down here working.
Yeah.
And I think if we can stay more centered going back, then we can work on pushing off that back instep. They all push from the inside of their ball of their foot. So they're pushing and turning at the same time. That's the reason their legs go up and not their spine. He's back almost in the same position that he started with his spine over the same. Now, he doesn't do that as good anymore, unfortunately.
Ronnie Blanton coming in, yes, the Gary Oliver.
Anyway, that's what I think we need to work on, is staying in your spine, going back. And then we'll work on your change of direction a little bit from your feet, because I don't see any leg action. I don't see you pushing off that back foot. I see you very flat-footed there.
Yeah.
You don't really get to where I'd like to see you get until very late in the swing. So that's your biggest power source right there, back and forth. And if your feet are flat, when I showed you Jordan, I kind of showed you the same thing with his legs, right?
Yeah. No, Terrence, you had Terrence up there upside and also the same thing.
They all use the ground. Can you tell his side bend to his spine that way? His back hip is up, and
Copy that, thank you.
but his spine tilt's actually slightly forward. Now is when he drops his arms, he kind of sits down with his legs, and you see that back knee.
Mm-hmm.
So watch what happens to the impact. He's pushing with his legs. That's why they straighten like that. And you're not really ever getting to that push position.
Yeah.
So you have to use your hands and your arms. If your leg goes over there, it's not your path. You're changing the face angle too much because you're not squaring it with your